Greetings. Hello, it's Christine. How are we all doing today? Please say hello in the chat box and we'll get started. You know how I'd love to start right on time. So in the chat box, tell me if you've ever seen a jaguar before or any wild cats, maybe a bobcat or a mountain lion if you live in North America, or if you've ever seen them in zoos or sketched them. So, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to review a bit about the anatomy of the whole family, the Felidae, because if you're like most people in the world, you might have a pet cat. So, we're going to correlate how jaguars are related to those guys. And then we're going to talk about their characteristics and a bit about their anatomy. And then I'm going to invite you to my course. It's the last course I'm selling for Black Friday. This is the only course left that I'm selling through midnight. And I'll have a special bonus for those of you who buy it today. So anyway, welcome. My name is Christine Elder, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist. And I love traveling and sketching, whether it's a zoo like here. I was sketching African lions at the Portland Zoo, or whether it's in the Galapagos, sketching sea lions, or horses, or even in Borneo, sketching colugos. So I love sketching mammals. And again, I'm going to tell you about my mammal sketching course at the end. So Jaguar Day and Jaguar Month were created by a group called Panthera, which is one of the leading conservation groups around the world that helps care for the habitat and restoration of wild cats around the world. So really great organization. I suggest you check them out, panthera.org. And I was lucky actually to meet some of the people that work for them when I was in Honduras. They were setting out camera traps to get video and photos of wild cats. Hello, Isabel. Yes, your husband and you saw a jaguar in the Caribbean side of your country in Costa Rica. She was eating a heron. Oh, wow. I think, Isabel, I remember you posting some pictures about that on Facebook. That's amazing. So we're going to make this larger now so you don't have to see me. Okay, great. So let's just review the characteristics of the cat family. And then, of course, we'll go into specifically jaguars, so how they fit into that bigger family. So it's a pretty large family, and it has I think about 40 species. They're strictly carnivores. And you can see from this picture of the saber-toothed cat, that one was really specialized with its canines there. But the remaining ones have smaller canines. They're mostly solitary. They're worldwide except Australia and Antarctica. They have really, let's see, here's lithe bodies. So they can, jump and swim and all kinds of things. We'll talk more about that later. And let's see. So, there's lots of members, like I said, about 40 species, 14 genera. If you know you're a house cat, you know that they have retractable claws. Almost all of them do. And they have kind of a short snout. They vary, of course, from the neotropical, North, Central, and South American species to ones in Asia, like snow leopards, and ones in Africa, like cheetahs and lions and leopards. And so lots of different species around the world. They have this really strong jaw, a really strong bite, because again, they are strictly carnivorous, and they have got this big sagittal crest right there, which is for attaching very large muscles to the jawbone right here so that they can have a really strong bite. And actually, jaguars have the strongest bite of all the cats. And here's a picture of their skeleton. It's good to understand their skeleton, especially when learning to draw them. And so they have pretty much longer legs and longer tails than dogs, but otherwise look quite similar. So is a list of the wild cats of the Americas in that family, the Felidae. And so going from north to south, you might have seen a bobcat up in from Alaska to North America, and then mountain lions. And then, Canadian lynx are actually the farthest north, and then bobcats and mountain lions, which are actually the widest range. Mountain lions range throughout the United States and Central America and South America. So lots of different species, and there's actually the biggest diversity in Central America, where I've been lucky to travel and see some rescue centers. Central America has the jaguar, the mountain lion, ocelots, margays, jaguarundi, and uncillas, which people haven't heard of those two very much. And then as you go south, all the way down to the southern tiger cat and this very strange thing called the cod. Okay, so now let's specifically go to the jaguar characteristics within that family. Look at this one. He's pretty mad right there. He's got his ears turned back. And something I forgot to mention, a lot of members of the cat family have these ears with sort of a light patch in the middle. It's almost kind of like if you were walking behind a jaguar or a lot of other cats, including leopards, you see this spot. It's almost like a false eye spot. So the jaguars are the largest cat in the Western Hemisphere and the third largest in the world behind lions and tigers. And their name, jaguar, comes from an indigenous word meaning one who kills with one giant leap. And so here's just a picture there. This comes from the International Jaguar Day website. So they have short rounded ears like most of the cats, the strongest jaw, as I'd mentioned before, and sort of a short snout. And then they're really pretty stocky. And they are the biggest cat, as I said, in the Western Hemisphere between Alaska and Argentina. They're the biggest cat. They have a nice long tail. And here's some more pictures comparing the jaguar and the leopard. Now, you're never going to get those mixed up in the wild because jaguars are only in the New World, and they came over possibly during the Pliocene, I believe. And then they evolved from leopards, which are strictly in Africa and Asia. So they look a bit different. And they behave differently. Our jaguars are much larger and they're aquatically inclined. I'll show you some cool pictures later of them swimming. And their rosettes or little spots, as some people might call them, look a bit different from leopards. They have smaller spots inside their spots. So leopards do not. So you're not going to really confuse these unless you're at a zoo and you might see examples of both species. And so here's a photograph, and these photos are from a friend of mine, James Adams, who runs natural selection tours. And so here you see this is an Asian leopard, and this is a New World jaguar. Specifically, he took this picture in Brazil in the Pantanal. And it's a little hard to see from this angle, but they do have smaller spots inside those rosettes. Now, what is a black panther? So that's just a melanistic form, and you can get those in both leopards and jaguars. And if this was lit just a little bit differently, you could actually sort of see a ghosted pattern of the rosettes. But anyway, it's just melanistic. That's not very common, but of course, very beautiful. Now, jaguars were worshipped by native peoples in Central and South America, like the Olmec, Aztec, Mayans. The Olmec, who lived between 1200 and 400 BC, their whole culture revolved around jaguars, I was reading. And they were heavily portrayed in their art and religion. And their creation story was rooted in the belief that they were born from the union of a jaguar and a woman, making them half felines that possess special animal powers. The Mayans also connected the magnificent felines' abilities with various natural phenomenon, believing that jaguars' ability to see at night, like that beautiful picture, enabled them to move between the underworld and the upper world. And of course, they also became a universal symbol of political and military power, which gave rulers a protective animal spirit. So they were featured extensively in sculptures. Like here, I took this picture when I was in Belize at a site called Lamini, and you can kind of see the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears. And then this picture was the Jaguar Temple, and I saw this temple at Tikal in Guatemala. Alrighty, so where do they live? They have quite a wide range, wider than the other cats, except mountain lions. And in the past, they all even came up into Southern California and Arizona and Texas. And sometimes I think people even spot them still. Of course, it's getting harder and harder with the border wall for animals from the south to migrate. But it isn't thought that there's been females and any breeding populations up there for almost 100 years. So a lot more of them in Central America, and their biggest density is here in the Amazon, especially the Pantanal of Brazil, which are these giant wetlands. Again, if you can say hello in the chat box like Isabel did, I would love to know if you've seen a jaguar, either in a zoo or in real life. So imagine seeing a jaguar. Let's pretend we're in the forest. And we're walking and we're walking and we're walking and we're walking real quietly and looking for one. A little spooky, huh? So let's then talk about jaguars and their lives and what we might learn about them out in the forest. So they actually prey on over 85 species. And those can include, well, here they include this neotropical otter. There's actually several species of otters living in Central America. And oh yeah, I was going to tell you, I'm actually doing an otter sketching workshop for members in my mammal sketching course. It's going to be Saturday, December 14th. Just a sec. And so you'll get a 4-page handout of really nice high-resolution images of otters. But anyway, I've been lucky to see the neotropical otter as well as the giant river otter, which is quite endangered. So anyway, let's go back. And this picture was taken by James Adams, again, my friend. And so here's another picture of all the different things they can eat. So they are quite aquatically inclined. They're really strong swimmers. They can even take down caimans, which is amazing. And like Isabel said, she saw one eating a heron, which is an aquatic bird. They'll also eat deers, peccaries. What are these guys called? Capybaras. This is the world's largest rodent, the capybara, and tapirs, which are as large as a small cow. And so here's a few more pictures close up of seeing them behave in their behaviors. This one's sort of panting, and this one was really actually just yawning. He wasn't screaming. This one, it was actually this one was called Sylvia and was actually yawning. I saw it at the Belize Zoo. And if you're on my email list, you got an email invitation to today's event. And I was mentioning the Belize Zoo and Tropical Conservation Center, which helps relocate animals that have been in human conflict. And right now they have one that they're getting ready to release. Okay, anyway, so here's a picture of one swimming. So again, these guys are more aquatically inclined than the ones in Africa, because there's a lot more wetlands especially in Brazil. So they're very strong swimmers. So they don't have as long as a tail like a lot of other cats, including leopards, because they don't need that balance as much for climbing into trees like leopards do. And so here's another image of them swimming. Here's another image, and you can see in this side view a bit some of those spots inside the bigger circles of spots, which helps you see that it is a jaguar. But again, if you're in the wilds of South America, you're not going to be confused. There are no African leopards there. Okay, and here's some more photos. You can see they're in a lot of different habitats, and they have pretty wide, large ranges. So they can range 40 kilometers, and the male is twice as big as the female. So they're going to range between a lot of different microhabitats in their search for prey. And again, they can eat over 85 species. So they're going to be in swamps, tropical forests, scrublands, even edges of deserts, lagoons, and so yeah, they usually closer to sea level, but they can occasionally range up to 6,000 feet, I read. Okay, and here's a little family. So they will generally breed. The female will come into heat once every couple years, and she's pregnant for about 3 months. She'll have 1 to 3 cubs. And here's a couple cubs that look like they're about half grown. And she's got her hands full taking care of them. And there's lots for her to teach them. So she's going to have them for a couple years before she kind of encourages them to go off and find their own habitats and comes into heat again. And here's a mother here, and this is her almost fully grown cub. And we know that because Roy told me that. And again, we can have them seeing them at the edge of these wetlands. They can live generally just like 10 years in the wild, but up to twice that long if they're in a zoo and they're protected from interactions with other jaguars, or injury or diseases. And here's a fun picture showing them running, so they can run quite fast. And this one's kind of blurred. And this is from another colleague of mine, Roy Toft, who leads Toft Photo Safaris. And he leads safaris, especially down into the Pantanal as well, to photograph these beautiful cats. Where are we here? Oh, okay. So here's a video. This is Sylvia at the Belize Zoo. Just thought I'd show you some video. And again, this isn't just like a zoo. This is a rescue center. I try to only support places that are rescue centers. So sometimes an animal will be injured. They'll come to the zoo, or maybe they'll be rescued from being kept by an individual, because sometimes people find the cubs out in nature or kill their parents and take the cubs and try to make a pet out of it. So those animals obviously can't be re-released. And so they're well taken care of at the zoos. And then these animals like Sylvia becomes a, what do they call it? Like a mascot for the species, and is very important in educating people. Here you can see her spots inside of her spots. Again, that's a unique characteristic of jaguars that leopards don't have. Here's another quick video. So this animal, this is a big male with its testicles showing. Um, so you can see the spots inside the spots again, and you can see this habitat. So really wide-ranging habitats. Okay, and then so, jaguars, like a lot of big carnivores and other species in the tropical rainforests, have a lot of issues affecting them. Lots of reasons they're in decline, and so, of course, they can have a decline of their native prey, like the white-lipped peccary. They can die from diseases. Of course, habitat loss and fragmentation. And right now, especially, there's big droughts in South America and huge wildfires, partly started by farmers who are trying to clear fields, and those wildfires get out of control. So millions of acres have burned in the Amazon, even just this year. And then unsustainable logging, mining, and building of roads and cities. So there's a lot of that. And then, of course, proactive or retaliatory killings of animals that have come into farms and ranches to prey on cattle. Okay, and so I did want to tell you a bit about my course in case you're interested in learning more about jaguars. I have them inside my course where I teach you how to sketch them in terms of looking at their skeleton and understanding their musculature. Because when you understand like where the angles are for the joints, that can help you draw something a lot more accurately. And I also give lots of general sketching tips, like blocking in, looking at negative shapes and angles and alignments and all of that. That if you're watching me today, you've probably heard my spiel about that. And then I look a lot more closely at the anatomy. Like cats have this very interesting part of their ear called Henry's pocket. If you have a cat and comparing it to a dog, you'll see those. And in my classes in the mammal course, again, I teach you a lot about the skeleton and comparing it to the skeleton of other mammals, including ourselves. We have all these same bones, like the shoulder bone and the upper arm bone, and we even have a tailbone. So that will help you draw any mammal if you understand that skeleton. And then, of course, mammals have lots of facial expressions compared to fish and amphibians and birds and reptiles. And so I talk about that in my course. So here we have 3 different facial expressions, and you can really see the difference between the ears and the eyes, and of course, the mouth and the teeth. So I talk a lot about that. And so I am having a sale, 60% off still. It started Black Friday and it goes through, I think it's tomorrow night. I think it's tomorrow at midnight. Yeah. And I did put a link in your chat box there, as well as there's probably links on the other social media sites, as well as your email that you probably got if you're in this watching today. So what's included in the course, like all my courses, there's an introductory series on anatomy. So I have a workshop specifically on understanding the anatomy of faces, of bodies, of paws and hooves and fingernails, depending on the type of animal. And then there's a whole library of mammal family workshops. And so I teach you about all the families, all the major families in the world of mammals. So it doesn't matter if you live in North America or Europe or even Australia or Africa, or even in the marine environment. I do cover dolphins and sea lions and seals and whales. So I cover animals from all the continents, all the habitats, all the major habitats, that is. And let's see, sorry, I'm always oh, yeah, there we go. So, all the major habitats, marine environments, freshwater environments, deserts, grasslands. So, we talk about everything from A to Z, armadillos to zebras in my course. And this Sketching Mammals of the World course, there's a link right here in the chat box to get that. It's 60% off. That's the biggest sale I'm having of the year. I am not having a big Christmas sale. I'm going to be busy during Christmas, and this is it. This is your big Black Friday sale. So it's only $50, and that's really less than about $1 per hour in this course, because I've got lots of families I cover again. Yeah, so one more thing. Let's see. Yeah, so a lot of these classes are based on my experience traveling. I've traveled from Alaska to Peru and Borneo to Turkey and lots of places in between. And I love to sketch in the field. And so all my classes have lots of photos and videos that I've taken in the field. And we do sketch from both videos, like those short videos I showed you before. I have people sketch from those kind of things, as well as, of course, sketching from photos. And all my courses have downloadable high resolution images, like the river otter workshop next month. It's got 4 pages of things. So Kirsten, you said I have the course and there's really a lot in it. You like it very much. Great. I'm so glad you like it. Great. And so yeah, and so I also teach you a lot of different methods of drawing. We kind of focus on a graphite pencil because that's kind of quickest and easiest. But in the field, I really like sketching in other things like colored pencil and ink pen. And so we do lessons where we talk about that. Here's some examples of sea lions I sketched in Monterey, and horses I sketched when I was out on a horse packing trip in Eastern Oregon. And I have one more special bonus to inspire you to join today. So if you join, I will send you a link to sign up for my foundational drawing skills course. So if you feel like you really don't have the skills yet to draw things that are scary things like mammals, because you think they look too beautiful and they would be too hard to draw, like here's a couple more sample drawings, then you can get that course as well. So that course is only available for people who buy between now and the end of the sale, which I believe is tomorrow night, Sunday night at midnight. So check out that link. And yeah. So are there any questions? I know some of you can get in the chat box. If you have any questions, please ask me. And if not, yeah, so we went 30 minutes. I did want to keep this short because I know you have lots of things going on this weekend probably, and maybe you're cleaning up from Thanksgiving. Maybe you're making turkey soup, which I made yesterday. So you're probably pretty much wrapping up the Thanksgiving weekend if you're here in the United States, and looking forward to the rest of the year and wrapping things up. So I will be taking a bit of a break and then coming back more in the new year with some new products and some new courses. And so I really hope you follow along. And so I got to get going. So have a wonderful weekend. And I hope you've really enjoyed learning a bit about our wonderful neotropical jaguars. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.